You find yourself as dusk deepens near the mouth of an ancient cave. Before you, the ground is uneven. No bed, no cushion, only hard earth. Animal hides lie scattered, tangled with dry leaves that crackle beneath bare limbs. The fire's glow flickers against rough rock, its light softening the cave's jagged edges. Somewhere above, the wide sky dims, stars pressing quietly into view. This is a night long before beds, when sleep is a slow yielding to earth's steady surface. Around you, others settle with careful movements, bones bending to the shape of stone. No mattress softens the space where shoulders and hips touch down. The soil surface carries old root threads, small pebbles, and a layer of cool grit. A patch of moss offers a patch of slight ease beneath one hip. Bare feet absorb the chill radiating up from earth, toes curled lightly for warmth. Leaves layer against flanks and necks, their edges rough and papery against skin. A hide pulled over knees remains faintly scented of smoke and animal musk. In places, the ground dips or rises, nudging your side, refusing symmetry. There is no pillow, only the cradle of curved elbow or bunched leather. Breath condenses in the damp air, making small threads of vapor near lips and nostrils. The fire answers with a gentle crackling, brightening the stones in rippling orange and gold. Shadow stretches behind every limb, wavering with each spark that leaps. The inside of the cave presses close, smelling of burnt marrow and cool, wet lichen. Above, a single stream of moonlight picks out a trail of dust along the cave floor. Your back finds little comfort in the soil's uneven hardness, muscles shifting slowly in search of softer ground. The sound of someone settling nearby sends a low rustle through leaves and twigs. A stone cooled by night air offers its chill through the leather beneath your palm. The fire's warmth pulses gently outward, not quite reaching the farthest walls. Every movement is steady, resigned to the surface as it exists, uncompromising, real. This is the restless earth, the only rest there is. Fingertips graze the lines of a rock, feeling its grit and its grain. The world outside the cave is still, save for a faint wind that brushes the opening. Somewhere, a piece of dried grass tickles the curve of an ankle. The air tastes of dust and wood smoke, thick and faintly sweet. All around, the darkness thickens, shutting out anything beyond the mouth of the rock. A woman nearby shifts, her hide making a gentle scrape along the floor. Shadows fold across her hands as she tucks them beneath her chin. Beds do not exist in this place or time. No frame holds you, no woven straw supports your length. Sleep is something that creeps in slowly, sidelong. A pulse of warmth occasionally lingers when the fire flares after a snapped twig. Stone lips ring the fire pit, blacken deeper with each passing night. Bits of bone and char remain at the edge of the embers, half buried in loose soil. The wall opposite the fire gleams faintly, its surface slick from tiny beads of moisture. Soot smudges every surface, marking each touch and scrape. The cave breathes in shallow puffs, cool draft mingling with warmer air. A strip of hide, frayed at the edge, rests beneath the slope of your head. Old leaves crumble beneath a heel, softening to dust with the steady weight of the body. Eyelids remain heavy, resisting the unyielding ground a little longer. Fire shadows walk lazily along the stone, never quite settling. A cracked rock, used many nights before, fits awkwardly beneath a thigh. Some nearby shift again, their movements gentle, reluctant. No one speaks, words lost to the low lull of crackle and quiet breathing. The scent of damp clay pushes upward from the deeper floor, earthy and dense. Occasionally, a pebble presses softly against hip or shoulder and must be nudged aside. Once, a patch of dense fibers, perhaps grass gathered late, gives a hint of softness. Nearby, a hand shifts to gently pat a circle of dust smoother, making a bed from habit more than hope. The world outside the mouth is colder, and sometimes a wisp of fog settles just inside. Shallow beds of ash have been swept aside, revealing dark, wet sand beneath. A murmur, barely more than a sigh, drifts from the far wall, fading quickly in the smoky air. The stones near your feet are pitted from old water drops, their surfaces uneven and cool. Now and then, a spark leaps, framing the ceiling with dancing gold for a heartbeat. The dark beyond the fire is endless, a hush broken only by distant animal calls. A solitary beetle crawls the rim of the fire circle, legs whispering against old ash. A fact drifts in softly. Hides are stacked each evening, rotated so that the least worn fibers line the top. Sometimes moss or dried ferns are gathered in advance, brought into the cave for the coldest nights. The ground never truly gives, stubborn and strange, no matter how many layers are placed down. The smoke hole above the fire is little more than a thin gap, letting some warmth slip away, but keeping most cold at bay. Those nearest the flames feel a creeping heat. Bodies further back nestle close for shared warmth. A half-burned bone, smoothed by handling, serves as a pillow for a young child's head. The oldest gather closest to the most generous patch of moss. Muscle memory, guiding them to the same space. Each dusk, a shallow depression near one wall marks many weeks of use, sleep carving a memory into stone. Rest is not comfort, only pause, muscles settling in uneasy truce with earth. Bare skin sometimes tingles where cold bites through, but bodies shift and settle into each other, easing the edge. There is no linen, no straw sack, no woven mat. Your joints recognize the grit beneath and rest anyway, stiff but unhurried. The ceiling is dark, save where the last glimmer of firelight marks a web trembling on rough stone. Sound shuffles low, breathing, a nose ticking against woolly hide, a root snapping beneath shifting weight. Your ear rests against your forearm, heartbeat dull and slow in the muted. A memory lingers of drier nights when only leaves stood between body and ground. The sense of the earth's coolness is everywhere, it crowding your side, rising against hip and shoulder, unhurried and steady. Warmth blooms faintly where breath gathers beneath the animal hide. A knot of grass, missed earlier, finds its way beneath your palm. Every limb finds its own uneasy peace in the cradle of cave and fire. People nearby fade into silhouettes, gentle lumps under rough coverings. A beetle's shell glints as it vanishes into deeper shadow. The stones around the fire glow orange, fading as embers settle to ash. Night deepens, soil scent thickening, drawing bodies into their paws. Somewhere nearby, another body shifts and breathes, patience carved into every movement. A tendril of smoke curls upward, touched by every breath before it escapes through the crack above. The cave wall carries the faint, earthy scent of moss touched by dampness. Your shoulder presses against rough sand, feeling each mild irregularity in the ground. Some warmth seeps through from a neighbor's back, shared without question. A memory of sun-baked stones lingers from a different season. Now the night owns the floor. There is no feather-stuffed pillow, no cotton ticking, no hushed woven mat. The body rests, uneasy, yet held. This moment belongs wholly to the restless earth and the unhurried fire that answers it. A patch of loose fur tickles the back of a hand as fingers relax toward sleep. The shadows lengthen into the deepest corners, folding in gentle silence. Your breath and the caves sharing space. No bed, only the ancient ground. This is how the first humans learned to settle. Body to stone, hide to skin, fire to bone. In this unsoftened space, sleep gently gathers itself, woven from loss and need and warmth. A final ember cracks, fire's light curling along the wall, then quiet again. The soil's chill and the fire's faint comfort. These are the only gifts the night brings. The world above is endless dark sky, cold stars waiting in silence. Inside, the cave belongs to bodies resting, imperfect but present, surrounded by stone, ash, skin, and the slow pulse of dusk surrendering to night. A faint draft lingers in the hollow, stirring a tuft of hair near your temple. Soil presses its cool shape against your side. Somewhere along your spine, a small ache grows, then eases as muscle shifts against earth. The world beyond is wide and hard, but here found shadows curve, wrapping you in their mild hold. Beneath your palm, the granules of old ash have softened the dirt. A bundle of animal hide covers your shoulder, its edge curled and worn by many nights. The wild's breath slips under the sheltering rock, cool and even, touching skin in careful increments. Somewhere, a handful of moss rests within reach, its color lost, but its texture springy. Fingers drift through it, brushing up faint green fragrance and a memory of wet stone. A new shape settles beneath you, a scatter of dry grass mounded onto the ground's hollow. Tiny stalks press softly against bones, lessening the stone's stern weight. Palm against moss, you sense resilience, damp but gentle, threading between each finger. The earliest people learn that comfort is gathered, not given. A loose pouch made from stitched hide rests nearby, smelling faintly of smoke and animal fur. Inside, the remnants of winter's dry grass, scraps of deer fur, and pale lichen wait to be poured. Their purpose? To pad thin places where ground presses the hardest, beneath hip and shoulder. All around, depression marks show where bodies nested last dusk, a print in the earth's skin. Careful hands have shaped low cradles, scooping and pressing to fit curves and limbs. A cluster of leaves piles quietly at one end, some pressed, some loose, edged with dew. Overhead, branches have been arranged across the heart of the hollow, woven not quite tight. Gaps let in ribbons of shadow and the scent of bark, rough and fibrous beneath a tracing fingertip. Tonight's roof is neither soft nor certain, but it interrupts the cold sky's reach. A branch sags with its own steady weight, creaking faintly, joining a still rhythm. The world's edges blur, shelter is made, even if it is slim as a bird's nest. Old ash forms a shallow arc, keeping embers at the hollow's edge. When wind rises, smoke folds against the ground, collecting near the entrance and seeping out. A small small comfort comes easily in the wild, each thing gathered, each motion eased by repetition. Moss layered beneath the chest settles into itself, springy and faintly damp. Breath floats from parted lips, curling faintly in the night air. A low exhale joins the chill, merging warmth with the world outside the body. Moss, gathered at dusk, dries by firelight, loose pebbles and twigs picked away with flat palms. A scrap of fur, singed at the edge, lines the hollow beneath your ribs. The feeling of animal pelt beneath skin is both ancient and new, soft, rough, with a remnant of warmth. The faint scent of musk rises, hint of old earth, dry leaves, and something alive now gone. Some resting shapes curl against one another, a faint line of heat collecting where bodies touch. Others spread alone, pressing hands or feet to mossy padding, the luxury of solitude between root and stone. A line of woven twigs blocks stray wind, anchored between two stones with strips of old leather. Inside, the night is thick with the smell of earth and the gentle ash from last season's fires. Nearby, a beetle crawls along a length of bark, antennae testing the new terrain added this dusk. This low ground, pressed and padded, is not soft, but it is made tender by effort. A nest of lichen lies under your ankle, its texture almost lost to the night's moisture. Breath shifts again as you relax, letting your shoulders sink into the moss-lined hollow. Above, the woven roof hums quietly when the wind moves. The sound is uneven, but settles soon. On damp nights, dry grass is favored, a cushion to shield against the earth's cold hunger. A single feather drifts down, caught in the wall of leaves, delicate and nearly weightless. Every object brings an echo of comfort. Nothing lasts, but nothing is wasted. Some nights, the moss is thick and green, pulsing with water gathered from distant rains. Other nights, dried rushes and bracken fill the hollow, each blade breaking into softness over time. The first shelters are experiments lined in trial and memory. Tonight's moss, last season's fur, tomorrow's pile of leaves. Fingertips curl into the ground's shallow depression, feeling warmth growing where skin warms earth. Far above, clouds cross unseen, the branches hiding their measured, mute drift. Inside the shelter, a peeled branch crackles in the low fire, releasing a slow, resinous scent. Your face is half lit by coal's shimmer, the other half lost to shadow and animal hide. Woolly fragments, sheared with bone knives, are packed around your feet, holding off the worst of the freeze. Where a palm rests, the moss stirs slightly, pressing up dew and woody aroma. Shelter looks like a pile of branches, but from within, every bend feels shaped by steady patience. Hollowed out bone stores a clutch of dried mint leaves, now crushed and mixed with moss to ward off insects. A nearby breathing slows, signaling another body settling into the hollow, dreamless and heavy. The smoke hole, made by parting the roof's branches, lets out warmth as easily as it invites the night in. When wind gathers, you pull a scrap of hide closer, the edge rough and heavy on your thigh. Some gather pine needles for bedding, their fresh bite softening by morning into pliant comfort. Lichen, dry and webbed, lines the rim of your makeshift nest, catching beads of moisture through the night. From one edge of the shelter, a line of pressed reeds marks a careful boundary between sleeping bodies. A fur edge tickles your cheek, holding pockets of warmth just beneath the skin. An animal's old track, preserved in soil, forms a hollow where your heel finds rest. A snail clings to the inside of a bark wall, shell cool and tracing a steady spiral. On ancient nights, grass pillows grew thick in river valleys, picked and shaped for the youngest and oldest alike. Mother of pearl glimmers in a fragment of shell pressed deep into the earth lining, catching flickers of firelight. The roof's patchwork lets the softest drizzle in, dampening one patch of moss to a shining dark green. Someone nearby coughs, then is still, their breath deepening beside you. From time to time, animal pelts are draped over hot stones, soaking up warmth before sleep. The crackle of tiny bones within the fire pit blends with the hush of wind at the entrance. Pressed against your back, the moss releases traces of life lived in damp woods and sunlit creeks. Hemp twine, twisted by hand, binds the branches overhead, lending a fragile hold to the low nest. A shallow groove, pressed over many nights, shapes itself to your shoulder, fitting body to earth's surface. The hollow's earth is cool, but each body brings its own heat, many small fires radiating in the wild night. Fur slips as against skin as you settle, a shifting contrast to the rougher textures around you. Here, sleep gathers slowly, built not from luxury, but from patient layering, touch after touch. The padded nest is uneven, a collage of living and lost things merged by the search for rest. Breath folds and mingles under the fragile canopy, warming the air by inches. Above you, the shelter's silhouette wavers, outlined against a sky neither full nor empty, only timeless. Outside, the grass bends under the wind, but within, the moss reclaims your weight each time you exhale. Small comforts do not erase the ancient ground, but they soften it, reminding the body how to ease and linger. A single pebble shifts beneath your hip, not unkind, simply there. A detail of the wild's steady embrace. The night's early lessons return. Each hand-shaped hollow accepts another body. Every scrap gathered for warmth becomes necessary. You rest, not above the ground, but within it, shaped by effort. Layered by memory, held softly by things found and made. A ridge of old smoke drifts overhead, thin and gray, lingering from a hearth no longer new. Inside this modest shelter, the walls lean together, built from branches bound with sinew and clay. Light from the embers pushes against the roof's shadow, soft and uncertain. Rough wooden frames line the space, low, uneven, little more than a promise of lift. A handful of woven reeds and brittle grass padding rest atop the timber. Forming a first attempt at separation from earth. The air smells faintly of scorched bark, mingled with animal hide and sweet, drying moss. Nearby, voices travel low and steady, drifting close. A mother's tale unwinds in a hush, her syllables caught in the woody dark. Each listener's breath creates a slow, shared rhythm, one story threading gently into another. The tale thins as eyelids falter, words making softer shapes. A child turns, the pelt beneath them rustles softly, releasing the memory of animal warmth. The group's bodies settle in a curl, knees brushing knees, hands folding near mouths. Fingers graze a coarse hide, a comforting familiar, rough but yielding. Around the frame, sleeping bodies collect quietly, spaced so every inch of warmth can be borrowed and returned. The wooden form creaks under shifting weight, but holds steady against the packed earthen floor. Above, the ceiling of woven brush lets in strands of moonlight. The ground below, cool but not forbidding, gives a little at each inhale. A hush seeps into the space, pauses lingering where stories used to live. Moisture beads on the inner wall, catching the glow with every faint movement. Somewhere, the last coal breathes out, orange and small, threading heat into the dark. A pelt draped across shins carries the memory of wild fur, its scent raw, grounding. The bodies draw together, tension leaching away in increments. Near the edge of the fire's light, a father's foot presses into the old ash. A dull bone pin catches the fire's reflection, fastening the edge of a pelt at a shoulder. So little and yet so much marks this tender architecture of rest. The platform's rise is hardly more than a hand's width, but it alters the whole night's comfort. This is the dawn of domestic sleep, where the floor shifts from a wild place to a haven built in pieces. All around, darkness thickens, cushioning the small cluster in its gentle hold. No longer lone forms against open grass. Now bodies press into a pattern learned over time. elbows and feet tangle beneath pelts, company found in each unplanned brush. A steady, even warmth blooms among the group, rising through patchwork furs and bark-woven mats. The air's edge, once biting, grows forgiving inside these walls, patched by patient hands. Long before woven linen or feather fill, bundles of rush and animal skin cradle sleeping shapes. A hand, rough and cracked, closes over a mat of reeds, searching for softness. There is a rhythm to the nearness, breath deepening, pulse echoing, bones sinking into comfort. From the platform to the thatch above, every surface is marked by repetition and care. Wet sand swept to the corners reveals the daily labor underfoot. Bones embedded in the hearth's rim tell of past meals, now mere shadows. A reed twists between fingers, fraying at its tip, a small task left unfinished beside a sleeping child. Warmth pools in hollows where backs meet and shoulders touch. The embers offer less each hour, but enough to keep cold at bay. Animals, hushed by the doorway, bring the faint sound of hoof against packed dirt. The old dog, silent and alert, circles once in the gloom, then resettles. A flicker of tallow on the edge of the frame calls up a quick glint before dissolving into smoke. Inside, the bodies settle like stones in a riverbed, gently pressed, shaped by current and pause. There is no hurried sleep here. Every moment is unhurried and taken in segments. The pelt snap catches under a thumb, coarse and familiar. A mother's palm rests over a child's arm, stilling a twitch with practiced ease. Child and parent, side by side, create a shared pocket of warmth beneath overlapping skins. Around them, the shelter's tight space forces a quiet intimacy, no room for distance, only for comfort in closeness. Small breaths plume in the night, visible just for a moment in the weak light. A faint rustle as someone turns, losing then reclaiming warmth. Every shared touch becomes a part of the dream's architecture, something known even in sleep. Hearth smoke, lingers nowhere and everywhere, softening edges, stinging eyes only gently. A sliver of cold presses through a chink in the brush, but is met with bundled fur and limbs folded in. The slow fade from wakefulness is marked by less and less speech, until only the faintest whisper remains. A memory drifts in of nights with only grass for shelter, frost for company, no roof above. Now, the roof's hush promises a thin, reliable shield against wind and rain. In the near dark, the grain of wood under a palm gives reassurance. Above, a spider watches from the thatch, unmoving. A pebble under a hip reminds the body of the earth, but discomfort becomes smaller as sleep draws near. Nothing ornamental here, just function, repetition, and the gentle kindness of shared nearness. A row of rushes near the wall dries in the heated air, waiting for another day's weaving. The fire's final glow pools across the low frames, touching shadowed faces with a faint bloom of gold. Throughout the structure, the air is thick with familiar scents. Old smoke, worn leather, wool, pressed bodies. No voices stir now, only heartbeat and breath carving out the gentle dark. The world beyond the wall retreats further, giving way to indoor still. A child sighs, pressing cheek into a rough pillow of bundled moss. The timber beneath the mat holds the shape of that sleep year after year, deepening with each night. Somewhere at the edge, a stick shifts loose with a gentle tap. Soon replaced, another small chore for morning. This is how sleep first circled fire, learning to be sheltered. Tender routines, built of need and time, gather into new comfort. Wood creaks, pelt settles, body gives in. Every hand finds its place, somewhere in the warm, dim hush. A fragment of story lingers but drifts into silence, replaced by the unhurried companionship of shared slumber. A hush lingers where voices once trailed off, weaving into the folds of the room. Low lamplight casts long shadows on the packed earth. A softened mat waits, reeds aligning beneath woven cloth and hand-pulled grasses. The cool air meets a warmer layer resting just above. Careful work holds the chill away. A fingertips find stray stems, brushing loose fragments aside. Hands move evenly, tucking corners beneath wooden rails, measured and precise. Faint crackle as grassy bundles meet the frame, spreading comfort flat. A braid of dried herbs, chamomile, sage, rests near the head, scent drifting upward. You let yourself settle at the edge of the mat, knees folding gently. A palm presses down, checking for missed stones, for hidden knots. A distant fire's glow melts into walls washed gold, softening the dusk. Weight is tested across the mat, just enough, as if measuring the night's promise. Folds of pelts are drawn up, edges smoothed, no rush in the evening work. All things are prepared with care, even the smallest reed in its place. Loose dust swirls at the slightest movement, then settles back, forgotten. Outside, a lonely sheep sighs once, muffled by thick walls. A bundle of twigs, swept aside earlier, waits with tomorrow's chores. A dent in the mat marks someone's favorite spot, pressed by many nights before. You find a shallow dip, shoulder-fitting, long-shaped comfort. A circle of presence, others near, but each wrapped within private rest. Stillness grows between slow gestures, the body surrendering piece by piece. A faint line of breath fogs the cool air, then dissolves. The mat yields lightly, the first rough beds softened by effort and small knowledge. Hemp and cords bind the frame, keeping the corners squared through night after night. Herbs release their oils, carried in air warmed by many bodies nearby. One more strand brushed away, nothing left to do but allow the hushed to fill the space. An elbow shifts, woven mat gives a soft sigh beneath the weight. Places are not chosen, They appear shaped by habit and need. You let knees drift outward, toes curling against the mat's edge. A fragile peace arrives, unfamiliar but not unwelcome. Old bones find relief in the gentle yielding of dried grasses. Fur blankets tugged higher invite every limb to ease. A shallow bowl of water rests by the frame, reflecting flicker from the dying flame. Fabric grazes skin, coarse from wear, but cleaner tonight than many times before. A small ritual, hands against knees, measured exhale through closed lips. A braid of hair unwinds, high fingers working out the last knots. A mother quiets a restless child, whispering a single word not meant for waking. Herbs at the mat's head release their strength in gradual measure. Timber beneath does not complain. Sighs barely felt through the thick cushion of time. Two sleeping bodies settle shoulder to shoulder, heat blooming faintly between. The scent of sage and dust mingles, a gentle marking of rest's new shape. Breath travels, rises, then ebbs, shrouded in evening's hush. A stray crumb from last night's meal waits in the shadow, left to itself. Old hands press a folded cloth near the head, pillow barely raised. Quiet grows slowly, not imposed, but settling itself in tiny layers. The air at floor level cools, but warmth pools beneath every mat. Grains of sand caught in the weave press gently against tired ankles. Light from the fire's last breath washes the frame in gold and then amber. Patterns appear in the mat's threads. Shapes from old eyes, lost again in the dark. Someone lets out a deep sigh, threads of fatigue slowing to stillness. A trundle basket near the wall holds herbs for tomorrow, each with its own dry, crumbling smell. Bodies realign inch by inch, evening aches surrendering by degrees. No raised beds yet, only heights made with care and the memory of ground that once was harder. Wool thread binds one loose end where reed meets the wooden frame. A sleeping rhythm finds the room, muffled and ancient. Water from the bowl cools to match the night air. Around you, feet settle, knees unfold, arms drift to the chest, the ritual repeated. A spider explores the edge of the frame, vanishing into a pattern of shadow. Someone's fingers, calloused, slow, pat down a corner as if blessing the space. No lanterns needed, moonlight filters soft through a gap in the wall. A memory, the time before, bare earth, rough pebbles beneath thin mats. No one returns to that willingly, now that the smallest lift, the narrowest platform is given. The timber holds the silence. You release another steady breath, the mat's scent holding a trace of last year's summer and last week's rain. This is rest-shaped by will and learned from need. No stories left, only the rituals that smooth the way and wrap sleep in hushed. A gentle hush falls, reed and skin, wood and wool, all yielding. Night breathes around you. The world above fades into the muted comfort of crafted rest. Sleep gathers, measured and undemanding, among the softened frames. Fingers rest on rough fiber. The woven mat no longer held. Grasses beneath give with each breath. Faint shape of comfort forms below your hand. A reed bends, unnoticed. Fabric slackens under settling limbs. Nothing at all pulls forward now. Bones loosen around soft earth. Ankle finds cool, then warmth. Every fiber lets go, easy. The last hint of day dims away. Tallow glow folds into darkness. Shadows thicken near the mat. Matting yields patiently beneath your ribs. In the hush, air softens. A hush presses, sheltering. The pulse in your wrist slows. No weight lingers on your shoulders. A gentle ache releases from the spine. Neck and jaw settle with the straw. Woven blanket edges curl in. Edges blur into darkness. Lashes meet and stay. This stillness is so wide, so muted. Breath loses its count, drifting. Heartbeats fall in time with somewhere far away. Quiet outside, muted within. A rise, a fall, nothing more. Your body yields, slack as new clay shaped by sleep. The mat scent deepens, carrying forgotten afternoons. Mask of day slips, left behind. Blanket's coarse weave softens near your cheek. A hush settles, close as skin. Everything rests. Even the fire's glow fades. In the first faint beds, sleep claims without demand. Silence crawls where footsteps once were. Night wraps gently everywhere. Nothing remains to be done. No hands searching, no voices to answer. Only ease folded in reed and wool. Heartbeats absorbed by the hush. Touch dissolves. Edges fade. Breath grows slow and unbroken. The world around you grows hushed now. The world around you grows quiet now. Everything is still. Everything is quiet. Nothing calls you anymore. Nothing remains to follow. Only the quiet rhythm of your breath. Slow and steady and gently without effort. Drift take.